Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, Tomcat Stitchery. I'm Whitney and I'm here with another Sunday sew along. Today is part 2 of our It's Just Stitch Upland Trousers sew along. So today we're going to be doing our the fronts. So we'll be doing our pockets, we'll be inserting the zipper. So this is a fly zip, and I've done tutorials on fly zips before, but this is a fly zipper with a facing instead of a waistband on top. So it's sewn in a little bit differently. Some of the steps are the same, and a lot of today will be a little bit familiar, but there are differences. So yes, so this will be a good one if you've ever wanted to sew a pair of pants with a facing, which I find very comfortable. I love my finished pants so much. I love them so much. So I've had some really good successes with the sew along garments, and these are much easier to sew. Putting this cotton twill through my machine, so much easier, so much less tears than the leather coat. Although I really love my leather coat. So, you know. Anyway, that is today's video. We'll just be tackling the fronts. As always, if you would like to help support the channel, I do have a Ko-fi account, which is like a virtual tip jar. The link is down below in the description box. All the money I raise from that goes directly back into the channel, mostly for equipment, supplies, things like that for like the sew-alongs and the tutorials. Those tend to be just a little bit pricier for me to produce than the rest of the videos that I do. So that is down below. Other than that, if you have any questions, leave them down below. I will answer them as soon as possible. I hope you're having a good one, and enjoy. Okay, are we ready to sew today? All right, before we get started though, I have bought a new, I'm not using it right now, it's not here yet, but I have bought a new tripod and I may have already said this in the video, and I'm very excited about using it for the next sew along. I got one with a gooseneck to see if maybe that could get me up and higher in some different angles. I tell you, the filming part of this is, I could teach sewing all day long. The filming part of this has been such a learning curve. Okay, so, because I realized that the angle of this is kind of weird, but it's like the best I can do with my current equipment. So I have ordered a new tripod. We're going to see how that works. All right, this is what we are going to be doing first. This is the front of our pant, and we are going to be attaching the pocket. I've already done one side. Obviously it's done the same as the other. So this is where we are ending. This is the back or the front, and then here is the back with the colorful. And I put my colorful pieces inside the pocket. A lot of times with jeans, you'll put them on the other side so that you can see them when you're putting your pants on and off, but because you can't see them because you have to have the self fabric on the back piece, I like to have a little surprise when I put my hands in my pockets. So that's what I've done there, and let's get these pockets in. Okay, I'm gonna set that one to the side, and this is steps 7, 8, and 9, I think, is what we're going to be doing on the actual instructions on the pattern. Okay, so we're going to start off with the front piece, and obviously we've got this angled side here. And so we're going to grab our pocket facing piece, which is piece number 4. And we are going to sew these right sides together right here at that seam. And again, I have stabilized the pocket facing piece. You could stabilize the back side of the pants if you wanted to. It's just it's less likely for you to see the seam or the interfacing poking through if you do it on the pocket facing. But, you know, truthfully, I'm using such heavy fabric that it probably wouldn't be an issue here. I'm actually going to turn that light off. Sometimes that blows out my white balance. It's better with the lights to not have it. Well, I don't know, maybe. Maybe we are good. I don't know. Okay. All right. Okay, so this seam, because it is cut on the angle, is likely to stretch out. And I noticed when I did the other one that mine kind of had stretched out a little bit. Again, these are right sides together. So what we're going to do is kind of just ease back in a little bit. Like you can see here, there's the corner, and then the corner of the pants is down there. So I'm just going to match everything up. You can kind of match that side and those angles up. as I'm starting. Our seam allowances are 1/2 inch. And I am using a 2.5 millimeter stitch length, and I'm also using a size 16 needle because I've got thicker fabric. If I were using a heavyweight linen or like a little bit lighter cotton twill, I might use a 14. But yeah, I'm using a 16 because this is pretty heavyweight. All right, so what I'm doing is I'm sticking my hand between these layers, and I'm just kind of, and I've got my edges matched up here, and I'm just kind of pushing the fabric to fit it in there. And because the pants are against the feed dogs, it'll kind of ease that in. And because I am sewing with cotton, so you can see we've got just some like easing in through there, but because I'm sewing with cotton, steam will get that right out, so you don't even have to worry. Okay, so once we've sewn that seam, we're going to understitch. So I'm just going to flip this over, and I am stitching my seam allowance to the pocket side, and we are just going to stitch close to that original seam line. This is going to make everything tuck in oh so nicely. Okay, so there we've got that. Now, I'm going to take our front pocket, which is piece 3, and I'm going to lay it right sides together down with my pocket piece. So my pocket is still like sticking out crazy here. And we're going to sew all around the curve and up here, okay? And I'm sewing with my quilting cotton against the feed dogs because it's the lighter weight fabric, which you want the lighter weight. Usually you want the lighter weight or the most like something's cut on the bias. That's what you want against the feed dogs. Obviously use pins if you need to use pins. Luckily, because this is cotton, it's pretty sticky, so it's sticking to itself really well. Okay. Also, can we talk about how much easier this is to sew than the leather from the last song? It's going to be a breeze. All right, now I'm going to go and hit this with my serger. You could pink it. You could use your overlock stitch on your sewing machine, zigzag stitch, whatever. But I'm going to go ahead and finish the seam I just sewed, and then I'll meet you right back here for some basting. All right, so I finished off that seam allowance. Now, I've not pressed anything. I've not pressed this pocket piece back. I've done none of that yet because I find when I hit that with an iron to do the pressing, that it's so easy to get this all out of skew and weird, you know, because if you're doing any ironing at all and not just pressing, it's just so easy to get things out of balance. I actually baste it first because all of my edges want to match up properly at this stage, and then we'll go and press everything, and especially with a lot of steam, to ease in the fullness that's there. So what I'm going to do is, so here I've got my pocket piece. It's all, oh, before we do this, sorry. See, I told you I was going to tell you when to do the dart, and I almost forgot. All right, so now, if you are, in fact, sewing the dart, keep your pocket pieces out of the way and go ahead and sew the dart and get that nice and pressed. And it gets pressed to the side seam once you've got that done. So once you've done that, press your dart now at this step. Now we're going to baste our pocket in place. So we're going to turn the pocket over on itself here. And I mean, you can kind of like eyeball it. Obviously, you want your pocket to go inside that a little bit. But for the most part, we're just matching up our edges here. And I cut out kind of the dart bulk that's there, and I didn't need to. But that's okay. All right. So once I have everything lying nice and flat, you can totally go pin this if you'd like. There we go. I'm going to baste within my seam allowances, so I do it like at 1/4 of an inch. I'm just going to baste the pocket to the front of the pants. Right here, it's just a little bit here on the side. And then also up here. So just want everything to be laying as flat as possible. Again, I have the dart bulk, so I'm going to be following the edge of the pocket. We can just cut that off to base that. So I'm doing 1/4 of an inch from the top of the pocket. And then I can locate my scissors. Obviously, if you had sewn the dart, you wouldn't have this area because it would be in the dart bulk. We'll just cut that little bit off. Okay. So there we have it. Now, on the front, I am just going to take my iron, lots of steam, and carefully press that into place. So I'm going to go do that. And just use a lot of steam. And you don't need to do a lot of ironing. Do more actual pressing. And then I'll meet you back here, and we're going to start the fly insertion. Okay. So now we're going to do steps 11 through 22 to finish up today. So we have our 2 fronts each done separately. So we're going to be basting our fronts together and then sewing this part of the seam. Now, what I'm going to do first is I'm actually going to serge or finish off just this area. I'm not going to do anything with this yet. We'll finish that off together when it gets sewn. But I get a lot of questions on this, so I'm actually going to show you how I do that, okay? So we're going to do this on both sides. So that is the first step. So I'll meet you at the serger. All right, we're here at the serger. All right, so we're just wanting to do that fly extension part. So here we go. I get this question asked a lot, though, because I know it is a very tricky area to get into. But I'm trying not to trim anything off. If anything, just like a few of the, little scraggly bits of fabric, the little hairy bits. But, gosh, I'm trying to get my foot pedal here. Okay. So I'm really just riding this along the blade. All right, now we're coming up to the curve. And you can see that it goes curves in and then it curves back out. So we're going to slowly go around the curve. Okay. And now I'm just going to take this little part and fold it out of the way. And now it's just a matter of watching to make sure it doesn't get caught. And then I'm just going to clip it close. But there, we've got clipped there. Now this part will get serged, but it'll get serged together with the other side. And we will have an area where we're going to cut into this that will be raw, but I hit that with a little bit of fray check, and that so far has held well. All right, so there we have it. Let's go back to the sewing machine, and we're going to baste the fronts together and sew this seam, and then we'll put our zipper in. All right, so we're going to do some basting of seams here. So the first thing, we're going to put our pieces together, right sides together here. And I am going to use, sorry, there's a lot of leg there, loose pins, just because this little area can get a little, oops, fiddly. So I'm just going to pin, that's the inner part, or the crotch curve. All right, so you should have your zipper stop here marked, this point. So I'm going to stick a pin through there and match it up on the other side. Oh, look at that. Very rarely does that happen on the first go. All right. And then I'm just going to pop one up here. All right, though, what we're going to do, I do this even now. You could try and eyeball it, but why? So I'm going to mark. So we're going to baste from the notch that's up here to this point, backstitch, and then go to our regular stitch length and sew the rest of this seam. But it's just, there's no guide because you're kind of in the middle of the pants here. Just pull those out, take together. So what I do is, and you're going to need your ruler here in a little bit anyway, because this is a zipper, a fly zipper that we're putting in with a facing. So we're going to have to mark some distances. So I just put my ruler up here at the notch, which is right here. I know you can't see that very well. And then match it up here with the dot. And now I'm taking my friction pin, Frixon, however you want to say it. And we're just going to make a line. This goes away with heat, like so. All right. Now I'm going to put my machine on a basting stitch. So I've moved it to a 5mm stitch. Nice long basting stitch. Now, let's sew that. Oops, that is the cord of my microphone. Alrighty. So I'm just going to follow this blue line. I could have taken the back stitch off, but it's fine. Following it down, 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 down. When we get to that dot, we're going to stop, back stitch. I'm going to take my stitch length back to a 2.5. Starting right at that dot. And here we go, all the way to the end. All right, make sure, yeah, got that nice and good. Okay, so now, whoop. Okay, now I'm going to cut from this point up to the stitching line that should be right there at that dot, but right where I back stitched through both layers, and I'm cutting to, but not through, there. Okay, so now, whoop, I'm gonna take this and kind of pull that out of the way, and I'm just gonna serge this area to finish that off, okay? And then once I've done that, we're gonna press this, take out the pin width, we're gonna press this open, and then we're gonna press this piece to the left side when worn, okay? So I'm gonna just finish off this little seam allowance here, and then open everything up, press this piece open, and then press this little piece to the left. And I'll meet you right back here. Okay, so we have this pressed open, and this piece here pressed to the left, and I've hit these raw edges here. Now these are cut on the bias, they'll probably be fine, but I've hit those with fray check, and this little edge here with fray check, just to keep everything in check. Okay. Now this is where this is going to differ from like a normal, like a jeans, you know, a normal zipper fly insertion, because we are going to have a facing where things have to get finished off. So we are going to be stopping everything 2 inches from the top. So I'm just taking my quilter's ruler that is a 2-inch wide ruler, and with my friction pen that does go away, I'm just going to mark a line 2 inches down. Okay. That will go away, but this is going to be an important spot for us, and we want that all the way across just so we can easily see it. All right, now I've switched zippers. My purple zipper that I showed you last week was not long enough, so this is just one I had in my stash. It's super long, so it should be fine. It's just a nylon zipper. These are not tight-fitting pants. If I were making jeans that needed to like mold to my body, I would use metal zipper teeth, but because there's an adequate amount of, I mean, they're not like baggy pants, but there is ease in the hips of these pants and in the waist. I don't need a metal zipper, although that'll be, you know, famous last words. But my other pairs that I've made don't have metal zippers, and they've been fine, so we're going to go with the nylon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up my stop, my zipper stop here. This is super long. We're just going to keep everything, we'll cut off the top. But I want to line it up just kind of with this, the cut edge basically. So it's going to be lined up down here. And I'm deviating from her instructions a little bit. I'm going to be lining up my zipper, the left side of my zipper tape to the seam line, and my zipper is face down. So you can see my zipper stop here. It's face down. Okay. Okay, and I need to change to a zipper foot. That's going to be an important thing. Hold on, 2 secs. All right, so let's put this zipper in. Okay, so over here, we've got this. I am going to, my zipper is down, and I am lining up my zipper tape to the seam line, and I'm going about 1/2 inch above the cut edge there. Just kind of, doesn't have to be exact. And now I'm going to pull the fly piece out of the way so that we're only stitching through that fly piece, not the front of the pants. And we're going to be starting and stopping right at that line that we drew, that 2 inches. Oops. I had my back stitch off. All right. I do not use pens with my zippers. I feel like it distorts the tape. So, all right. So we've done that. Now, we are going to flip this right side up and top stitch it down. Again, starting and stopping at that 2 inch mark. Okay, so that's just sewn to that fly piece. Okay, so now we open up our pants. I love putting in zipper flies. I know that they get a bad, I mean, people get scared of them, but they really are quite satisfying and really easy. Okay, so when we open this back up, this naturally just wants to come over here and fold over to one side. Like, you don't even have to really make it do it. And this is the way it always is. So we've sewn, you know, that, and then when we open it back up, it just wants to flop over to the left-hand side. So now we are going to, again, no pens, pick up the zipper tape and the left side of the pants. And everything just wants to stay nice and flat for us. And we are going to sew it from the bottom just through the fly facing piece here. But we are going to stop at the 2 inch mark and not go all the way up. Okay? So look at that. Our fly is basically in, which is very exciting. Okay, so now we are going to flip everything right side up. And everything here, we're going to keep our basting stitches. Oh my gosh, get up. Sorry. Turn everything right side up. Pockets getting caught. Okay, so now all of our work should be kind of pushed to the right or the left when worn, and we're going to do our top stitching. Now, you can, if you want, draw in your line of where you want to go. The only thing I mark, though, is the zipper stop, because I don't want to hit that. I mean, nylon zippers are a little more forgiving than a metal one, but I still don't want to hit it. Okay, there it is right there. So I'm just going to place a pin right where that stop is. So I want to go under it. And again, I still haven't pressed anything. The only pin I'm using is this one because I just don't want to hit that zipper stop. And I'm also going to go back to my regular foot on my machine. So let me do that, and then we're going to come and top stitch on the front. Okay. So also, we're going to top stitch this down now. And I have marked a spot 2 inches down from the top where we're going to start, because we'll go back and finish the top stitching later. This is different than a regular zip fly, because we would have already put the fly shield in at this point, and we will tack things down, but we don't do that yet. That gets done at the very end, and the fly shield gets finished off differently just because of the way, you know, with the way that the facing and stuff gets finished off. Okay. So I am just, you can lengthen your stitch length if you want right now. I'm not going to. And again, I can feel the zipper through there. Well, hold on. Can I? I'm second guessing myself. I'm pretty sure I can. Yeah. That's the edge. Okay. Just want to make sure that was in fact what I was feeling. Okay. So now we're just going to start. Again, you can mark this in with chalk. Be careful with like the Frixion pens. You just want to make sure that things actually do disappear. Sometimes they can leave just a little bit of a mark. So it kind of depends on the fabric. I noticed that they do that on silk. All right, so then I've got my pen here marking where that stop is. So I'm just going to go around it. All right, and there we go. Okay, so we're done for today. So now we have our fly in, and we can leave it basted for now. And I'm going to leave my excess on here until the very end. So there we have it. Our fronts are ready to go to be sewn to our backs. Next week, we are going to be tackling the backs, which are basically just putting in those welt pockets in the back, and then sewing up the back side seam. And then I don't know if we'll have 1 or 2 weeks left after that. I'm going to wait until I kind of get into it. All right, guys. I will see you next week. Let me know if you have any questions.